On the 80th floor of the Vance Sterling building, a pinnacle of architectural luxury in the heart of Manhattan. The sound of balsa wood snapping echoed like a spine breaking, followed instantly by the crash of plexiglass shattering, scattering across the marble floor like discarded diamonds. A fragment flew up and struck the leather heel of Julian Croft's shoe, but he didn't flinch. He stood tall, unmoved, wrapped in a Tom Ford suit, tailored to the millimeter, the edge of a Swiss watch, worth millions peeking from under his sleeve. The entire office fell silent. No more typing. No more printers whirring. Just sunlight filtering through the glass panels, casting shadows on the ruins of what was once a stunning architectural model. A young man's dream now lying like a sparkling corpse in a funeral no one dared to attend. Julian bent down, picked up a fragment. Perhaps the dome turned it between his fingers, as if appraising an ancient coin, then let it fall onto the Italian carpet with two indifferent fingers. Creativity, he said, his voice smooth as butter, sliding across a blade, must be approved, Leo. Leo Martinez stood frozen. His arms hung limp, his lips pressed so tightly they bled, and his eyes, they didn't know where to look. And this piece? Julian gently brushed an imaginary speck off his lapel. Was not approved. A stifled giggle burst from a corner of the room, then choked out just as fast. Most others looked away, pretending to focus on their screens, each trying to vanish in a world that no longer felt safe. Leo didn't hear anything anymore. His ears rang like he had plunged underwater. Every sound became a distant echo. He smelled glue-fresh wood and the bitter scent of fear breaking through his own skin. His hand still clenched his employee badge, now drenched in sweat. He saw his entire summer sleepless nights, skipped lunches, afternoon calls home to tell his mom about my first big project reduced to rubble with a single sweep of an arm. It wasn't just a model. It was his American dream. His ticket out of the neighborhood, where his parents had never set foot in an air-conditioned office. The thing that would have made his grandfather, a wordless immigrant, smile from the afterlife. Now it was gone in smoke. Not far away, a middle-aged man was wiping the window frames near the hallway. Elias Vance, or Eli as everyone called him. One hand held a bottle of Windex, the other a worn gray microfiber cloth. But his mind wasn't on cleaning. His eyes scanned. His ears processed. His heart didn't move. Primary target Croft, Julian. Tactic public humiliation to assert psychological dominance. Collateral damage morale of the team. Objective enforce obedience through fear. Assessment effective. But brittle. Eli didn't react. He logged it. The eyes cast downward. The shoulders are shrinking. Brilliant, creative minds frozen by dirty power cloaked in the scent of Tom Ford. This building once stood for human-centered innovation. Now it was rotting from within. At the farthest corner of the office near the obsidian-tiled reception desk, a copper-haired woman crouched, scrubbing dust from the table's edge. Isabella Rossi Izzy. Everyone thought she was a part-time janitor. No one noticed her eyes that didn't belong to someone cleaning floors. They were the eyes of a judge recording evidence. When Julian walked past, she didn't bow her head. She stared, straight, unblinking. And someone who accidentally caught her gaze cold as steel felt a chill down their spine like standing trial. Julian hadn't just dirtied the rug. He had stomped on the soul of a place she once called home. Leo remained still. His hand trembled as he bent down to recover part of the model, but his fingers touched. Nothing. Nothing intact. Sometimes a deep, gravelly voice came from behind him. The smallest things are the strongest. Leo turned. Eli stood there, one hand gently resting on his, and in Eli's calloused palm lay a tiny wooden spiral staircase still intact. No more words were spoken, just a nod. A moment strangely brief, yet Leo felt a thread tying him to someone, to something greater. Not everyone looked away. Not everyone was afraid. And maybe the dream wasn't completely dead. Eli turned and pushed his janitor's cart down the long hallway. The wheels squeaked softly over the floor, whispering a message the battle had begun. But not everyone knew who had thrown the first punch. By day, the building looked like an exhibition of power, gleaming glass, polished steel, iced coffee served by gloved hands. But by night, it was a different creature. The hallway lights dimmed, red sensor lights flickered, and the $100,000 architectural models now sat silently like forgotten tombstones. The server room hummed with the rhythmic breath of a sleeping beast. This space no longer symbolized innovation. It was a ghost of shattered dreams. Eli moved through it like he belonged to the dark. No janitor's cart, no gray apron, just soft leather boots, a utility pouch sealed with black tape, and eyes sharp as blades. His days in the military left few scars on his skin, but they carved themselves into the way he walked, the way he heard the faintest tremble in the floor beneath his steps. Earlier that day, he had found an old blueprint accidentally left on the cleaning table. An early design of the building, yellowing paper, faded ink, but the lines were still sharp. On it, a red circle marked a ventilation shaft, a path leading straight to the Northern Auxiliary Engineering level. The backup server room. No message, no name. But Eli recognized the drawing style. Not everyone used that particular red technical pencil, Staedtler Mars 2H. Only trained architects knew how to control hand pressure to avoid smudging the blueprint ink. This wasn't a request. It was a move. And the challenger had placed the first piece. The server room was as cold as an artificial heart chamber. The cooling system hissed with every breath. Eli scanned his security card 3 times, combined with a memorized code. A green light blinked on. The door slid open, silent. Before him lay the graveyard of truth. He accessed a subdirectory. A folder appeared, Legacy Vance Orig. Inside were sketches from 20 years ago, handwritten notes, his father's red markings. The original design philosophy, simple, human-centered, putting people before geometry. Julian had copied everything, tweaked a few words, swapped out quotations, and claimed them as his own, turning a moral creed into a marketing slogan. Eli sat still, not in shock, in pain. He remembered a night when he was 16, watching his father sketch under a warm yellow lamp. A good building, his father had said, doesn't shout. It listens. Now the building that was meant to listen was run by the one who screamed the loudest. But Eli didn't stop. He traced further. A series of complaint emails about Julian, all rerouted to an internal address never reaching HR. File name Concern JC. Almost all with blurred signatures and tampered timestamps. Another folder, Departed Staff. Inside, documents, designs, blueprints from dozens of employees who had voluntarily resigned. One common thread: Julian had taken the files, edited the metadata, and changed the author to himself. Finally, Eli opened an audio file saved in an obscure format. A woman's voice echoed Julian. This wasn't your idea. It was Miguel's. I saw you delete his name from the blueprint. Eleanor, Julian's voice, replied, slow, as if smiling. I'll assume you just threatened your superior, and I'll assume you just selected your last working day. Eli gripped the mouse so tightly his knuckles cracked. His face didn't change, but his eyes, they changed color. Midnight, on the 80th floor rooftop. The Manhattan wind slapped at his coat like the hands of time. Izzy stood there, her hair tousled, city lights casting a hard bronze glow across her face. Eli approached, said nothing. They looked at each other. No need to confirm identities. They both knew. "I see you got my blueprint," Izzy said. Her voice wasn't loud, but every word dropped like a lock snapping into place. Eli nodded. He looked down at the street streams of cars like bloodlines flowing beneath their feet. "He turned my father's fortress into his prison." Izzy turned to meet his eyes. "Then," she said slowly, "let's redraw the blueprint. But this time, let's build him a beautiful cage." Cold white light poured through the blinds of Julian's office. Leo stood in front of the large walnut desk, legs trembling slightly, despite his effort to stay upright. On the desk sat a sleek, modern model of the Shanksville National Memorial, so precise in every detail it was terrifyingly familiar. He had once drawn it. More precisely, he had once imagined it. Every footstep leading down into the chalice-shaped plaza, every gentle slope symbolizing the bowed head of a grieving nation. He'd spent 3 weeks adjusting the afternoon light that would shine through the gap between the twin stone monoliths. And now there it was in front of him, with JC clearly printed on its base, Julian Croft. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Julian spoke, pouring whiskey into a crystal glass. "Just got the news this design's made the final shortlist. The name Vance and Sterling is back at the heart of America again." Leo said nothing. Julian swirled the glass and set it down. "I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, God, how could he? But let me tell you something." He stepped closer, lowering himself to eye level, his voice soft and intimate. "The world doesn't care about ideas. It cares about who gets to tell the story. And I'm a better storyteller than you." He straightened up. "If you're smart, you'll shut up. I could call your school, mention a few things about your attitude. And if you lose your scholarship, that'd be unfortunate, huh? But don't worry. Taco Bell's always hiring burrito wrappers." Leo didn't remember exactly how he left the office. Just the ceiling lights pounding down on him like hammers. Every step felt chained. He entered the elevator, the doors closed, and only when he saw his own reflection in the brushed steel did he realize he was crying. The bottom of despair makes no sound. It's not screaming. It's not breaking things. It's emptiness. Leo sat in the break room, phone in hand. The screen lit up, Mama calling. He declined, then Papa calling. He declined again. He couldn't bear the sound of their hopeful voices. Couldn't say that the dream they had placed on his shoulders, the first in their family to step into a building like this, had been stolen, ripped apart, and renamed. He didn't want to disappoint them, but he didn't want to fight either. He had no strength left. No one was left standing beside him. Leo, that voice. Leo looked up. Izzy stood there. No janitor's jacket. Just a white shirt, jeans, and eyes, both gentle and piercing, like autumn nights in Queens. She sat beside him. Didn't ask if he was okay. Didn't ask what happened. She simply sat like someone who understood pain and refused to violate it with hollow curiosity. 10 years ago, she began I Had a Model smashed too. Leo looked at her. Izzy stared straight ahead. I submitted it for a community redevelopment design competition. A young architect, eager, full of fire. Julian Croft was on the judging panel. He glanced at my model and said, "You're copying from outdated books. Nothing original here." She exhaled, blinking softly. And I believed him. I truly believed I wasn't good enough. I went silent. For a year. Didn't design. Didn't touch a drafting pencil. Just cleaned, made coffee, and read grant applications. 1 year stolen by someone who knew exactly how to destroy belief. She turned to Leo. "Don't let him take a year from you." Leo said nothing, but something flickered in his eyes where there had been ashes. Now a spark. That night, Leo didn't sleep. He sat in his tiny rental apartment hallway, light slipping under the door onto a dog-eared sketchpad. He reopened every old file, the first AutoCAD draft, the hand-drawn scans from his phone emails exchanged with Eleanor about the darkness as memorial concept. Each proof, each piece, each timeline he reconstructed, not for revenge, but to prove I made this. I was here. The next morning. Stairwell by the 78th floor. Eli was inspecting a fire door when he heard footsteps. Leo appeared, rumpled shirt, dark circles under his eyes, but they were bright. He didn't say hello. Didn't ask how Eli was. He simply held out his hand. A small black USB sat in his palm. "This has everything," Leo said, his voice not loud, but firm as steel. "If you want to bring him down, this is your bullet." Eli looked at him for a second. Not like an intern, like a soldier, an ally, a man who had chosen to rise knowing he might be struck down again. Eli nodded, slowly, firmly, a silent nod but full of respect. He pulled out his phone and opened a photo of his father in uniform standing proudly before the first blueprint of Vance Sterling. "I won't let him stain your name," Eli thought. "This isn't business anymore. This is a vow." 9:00 a.m. A quiet email appeared in the inbox of every Vance Sterling employee company-wide meeting. Mandatory attendance. Official announcement, lead architect for the Shanksville Memorial Project. Just one line. No signature, no explanation. But in the world of architecture, when a firm like Vance Sterling lands a national project, everything changes. The person leading that project becomes the face of the company on newspapers, at conferences, even in textbooks. Julian Croft believed today was his coronation. He walked into the conference room, a smile already painted on his face, clad in a light gray suit, as sharp as the contours of a blueprint. The room was packed yet silent as a cathedral. No chatter, no coffee sipping. Every eye fixed on the large LED screen behind the podium, still black, as if waiting for one person's permission to speak. Julian stepped up, took the mic. "Thank you all for being here. I know you're excited." At that exact moment, the back doors opened. Eli entered, gray janitor uniform, dusty boots. Following him was Izzy, black jeans, white button-up hair tied high. No one said a word, but their eyes screamed confusion, then shock. Julian smirked. "Here to mop the floor, Eli," he said lightly. "I'll call maintenance after the meeting." Eli stepped onto the stage, said nothing, didn't look at Julian. He took the mic from Julian's hand, then slowly unzipped the janitor uniform. A small sound. Zzzzt. But in the silence it cracked like thunder. The gray uniform peeled back, revealing a tailored navy suit beneath shoulders, perfectly fitted collar, flashing the Marine Corps' insignia, and on the lapel, an etched steel badge, Vance Sterling. Julian froze. A woman in the front row gasped, "Oh my God," and covered her mouth. Someone else whispered, "Is he?" Eli raised his head. His voice was calm, eerily steady, but it rang like a bronze bell. "My father built this company on one belief, that architecture should serve people, not ego. I didn't return to reclaim power. I returned to restore integrity." He gestured. The screen flicked on. Slide 1, property deed, listing Isabella Rossi as the legal owner of the building. Murmurs erupted. Julian turned ready to speak, but Eli continued. Slide 2, digital forensic analysis, comparing design files between Leo and Julian. Every timestamp, metadata field, and original draft laid bare, the audience holding their breath. Slide 3, audio recording of Julian threatening Eleanor for defending another's idea. Slide 4, signed statements from 5 former employees accusing Julian of credit theft and internal manipulation. Julian flailed, shouting, "This is fake you. You're just some washed-up Marine in a suit. You have no right to judge me. The room went still. Eli didn't respond, but Izzy stepped forward. He does, actually. She pulled a card from her shirt pocket and held it up. Isabella Rossi, co-founder of this project and current member of the American Institute of Architects Ethics Board. The air seemed sucked from the room. Julian's mouth opened, then shut. He stepped back. "We've received a formal complaint," Izzy said. "As of today, a full industry investigation into Mr. Julian Croft will commence." Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the finality of a career's death knell. "Even if you keep your office, you will never again sit on a board, lead a project, or speak at a forum in this field. Architect Croft, your career is officially over." Julian stammered, eyes wild. He scanned the room for allies, but everyone looked away. Eli stepped closer, standing before him. No anger, just weariness and finality. "Security is waiting. You will surrender your access card company laptop and all project materials." He lowered his voice. "You'll walk out of here with nothing. Because from the start, you came here with nothing of value." That sentence was the final blade slicing into the only thing Julian ever cherished, his ego. His legs buckled. The chair behind him caught the collapse with a silent thud. No one clapped. No one cheered. But the air in the room shifted. No longer suffocating. No longer cold. Only a stillness remained, the kind that lingers after a plague has been purged. A young employee whispered, "Did that really just happen?" Leo, sitting quietly in the back, looked up. Eleanor, her hair streaked with silver, glanced over and gave him a firm nod. The curtain had fallen, and a new era was beginning to rise. It had been a week since Julian was escorted out of the boardroom. No one mentioned his name anymore. No one needed to. But this morning, the 80th floor felt quiet in a different way. It wasn't the silence of tension. It was the stillness after a violent storm, the moment people open the door, glance up at the roof still standing, and finally begin to breathe again. That feeling didn't roar. It lingered in glances that no longer darted behind backs, in the hum of the coffee machine no longer shadowed by dread, in the upright postures of those who once shrank at their desks. No one said, "We're safe now," but everyone knew. Eli stepped into the center of the boardroom, no longer in a suit. Just a plain white shirt, sleeves rolled high, face unadorned. He looked around. No speech prepared. Only one sentence: "It's time to return the dream to the ones who truly built it." He turned to Leo. "Leo Martinez, you will be the lead architect for the Shanksville Memorial Project." A breath caught. Leo opened his mouth to speak, then paused. His eyes wide, disbelieving, slowly glistening, like he couldn't believe the world could still be this fair. And Eli continued, turning toward the back. "The person who will mentor you is someone who never should have been cast out of this place." The door opened. Eleanor walked in. Everyone stood. The first to clap was a young engineer, then the graphic designer, then the entire room. But this time the applause wasn't performative. It was genuine, warm, like a collective apology. Eleanor said nothing, but she placed a hand on Leo's shoulder as she passed, and looked to Eli. Her smile, worn in gentle folds of age, was music with no need for lyrics. That afternoon, the main lobby of Vance and Sterling changed. A clean desk was placed beneath the skylight right at the heart of the atrium. On it, a laser-engraved steel plaque read, "This space is for the next big idea. Its creator will always be credited." Not far from the desk, a poster announced the launch of the Vance Rossi Innovation Fund, a mentorship and grant program for young architects from humble beginnings with little access but overflowing passion. The fund's first act to relaunch the competition Julian once sabotaged so that Leo could finally win it under his own name. That night, the rooftop of the 80th floor, a soft breeze. New York glowed beneath them. Izzy and Eli stood side by side, not needing many words. Before them on a simple wooden table sat a new architectural model, fully rebuilt from Leo's original design, restored by three hands, Izzy, Eleanor, and Leo himself. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't sleek, but it pulsed with feeling. "He'd be proud of you," Izzy whispered, eyes still on the model. Eli was silent for a second, then turned to her. The smile that spread across his face wasn't a CEO's. It was the smile of a man who had fulfilled a promise. He'd be proud of us, and of what we're about to build together. The wind brushed past. The soft yellow lights shimmered across the model's surface like the glow of a future not yet here, but already begun. You've just watched a story of courage, integrity, and how even the quietest acts of kindness can dismantle a broken system and plant the seeds for something new. If you believe the world needs more stories like this, please like, share, and subscribe to Toch Story, where ordinary people become extraordinary. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another story that touches the heart. Thank you for watching. And remember, some battles begin not with fury, but with one quiet, brave act of kindness.